So behavior we're noticing: turn on the dryer, doesn't matter what cycle you're on, press start, it'll run for 4 seconds and then shut off. And this just keeps repeating over and over and over again. Here's the model number, DV45H6300, just for reference. Symptoms seem to point towards a bad motor, and we'll take this apart and replace the motor. I'll show you how to do that right now. First step is to reach in the back here and unplug the dryer. Lay the cord out of the way. Next step, in the back, where the vent attachment is, down in here you'll have a screw, a Phillips head screw. I'm going to loosen this and pull off your vent attachment so we can get this dryer out of the way. Slides right out very easily. And if your dryer has it, for the steam setting, you're going to need to unscrew the water line. Okay, so put a towel here. Just going to make sure though, before you unscrew this, you shut off the water at the wall. Okay, looking down at the back of the dryer, first step is going to be take off these 2 screws, one here and one here, and then we'll be able to slide here. Just get yourself some ashtrays or other little cups or Tupperware. Keep your screws in there so you don't lose them, and also we can organize them from which parts they came from. Alright, so now with the 2 screws out in the back, first step, take this top piece, push it away, it slides back, lift it up, and then it comes right off. Lay that to the side. Top off. Next step is going to be to take off the control panel. You do that by basically lifting up and pulling it up and back out of the way. The first time you're doing this, you may encounter some difficulty with these locking tabs here, but it'll pry up and back. And so we'll just lift that up now. So to get off the 2 locking tabs on the wiring harnesses, is just pushing down here and wiggling this out. That's the first one. Same thing on the second one. Here, just push down right in there and pop that off. Next step is going to be to take off the whole front panel of the housing where the door is. And to do that, we're going to take off these screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 2 on the bottom front of the door, 1 and 2. Just going to push in here, and again here. Okay, this will come forward. Before you let this set down, behind here is one more wiring harness. This is for the light switch on the interior. So disconnect that first, and then let this thing lean back like this, and you'll see as you can just lift that off and pull it away. Okay, now with the front panel off, we're going to have to take off the inside brace that goes behind the control panel. You'll see here more Phillips head screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we'll take those off now. Okay, so with all those screws off, just take this and lift it back. And now behind here, you'll see there's some wiring harnesses, and we just have to clear these out of the way. They're held in by these little twists, plastic twists, so just free them by twisting them open, and do those one at a time here to get the wiring out of the way. So looking down from the front here, the motor's back behind here. Okay, so to get access to this, we'll take off the lint trap and blower area, and then we'll also disconnect, I think this is the humidity sensor here, with more Phillips head screws, and this one too. Get that out of the way, and then we can work on freeing the drum. Alright, so now we got to take off the housing around the blower part here. So again, more Phillips head screws around the outside. We got to get the drum out of the way now, and the way to do that is to release the tension on the belt so we can lift this out. Okay, so now to get that drum out, the first thing we're going to have to do is remove this whole bulkhead, pull it forward so we can get access underneath to the pulley where the belt is on the motor. And so we're going to take off these 4 Phillips head screws on the corners now, and then lift and pull that out. And then set that to the side. Okay, so now peering in here, you can see there's the pulley. And reach in right here, and this we're going to have to pull away to the side to release the tension on this belt so we can lift the drum out. And so now with that released, we can grab the belt and lift the drum forward and out. And you'll see here, follow the notches on the side of the frame. Make sure that the belt is clear of the pulley. It's very light. Slides right forward and out. So now with the drum out, you can see we've exposed the motor back here. Here was the idler arm pulley that we released to get the belt free. You can also see there's a lot of debris back here. This is some of what was making that burning smell too. And so now I'm going to clean some of this out first before we do the next step of removing the old motor. So to get the motor out, we first have to unscrew the bolts on the ends, and so on the front put in a 14mm socket here. On the back I've just used an adjustable wrench to grip on. So this is threaded in the opposite direction, so to get this off I'm going to push down as if we're tightening the front. I've already loosened it a little bit, so we're just going to until that bolt nut is free. Okay, you see now on the front, this will come right out. Okay, this allows you to take the fan blades out, bring that forward, set that to the side. Now you can see in there the shaft for the motor. And to get the rest of the motor off, we're going to disconnect the harnesses. Okay, so take off the harnesses here and back here. Again, just pop these come right out. Set that beside it. Same thing on the top. Okay. All right, to free the motor here, we've got these brackets on the front, on the back, and another one up here in the front that we have to release. And so to get them out, you'll see back here, there's a little tab. You take a flat blade screwdriver, and we're going to push down on that to free it from this area right here. Front tab off here. I've released this, but I'm not going to try to jimmy it out right now. Bottom line is you can take the motor now, lift it up, slide it back through and out. Alright, so we cleaned this up here, but I want to show you why this was so hard to get out, because you're in a tight spot when that motor's in here. And so what you're doing is you're pushing down on here, right here, and you're basically lifting this clip off of this locking tab. Okay, once you get that clip off the locking tab, it's not going to want to bend up because it's on another locking tab here in the back. And so the trick is going to be just to push it down and then it comes right out. And same thing, to get it back in, you're just going to have to hook it on there. It'll come around and then snap in. And so remember that when we put the new motor in. So took a T25 Torx head screwdriver, and I'm just taking these screws out to get this switch out of the way. I want to take a look at this because the area of debris and that burning smell seemed to come from this switch. And sure enough, look at that black residue, and if you look really closely there, right there, that switch is burned out. You can see right in there. And from what I understand, this is not a replaceable part, and you have to replace the whole motor. Alright, so I was able to order a replacement motor from Amazon, and I think it was about 83 bucks, which was seemed to be a pretty good price. So here's the part number, DC31-00055G, or 55D, or 55H. One other thing to point out here that I think was also contributing, I pulled off the pulley by popping off the plastic clip on the back side from right here and slid the pulley off, and there's also a lot of debris on the inside of here, and that smells like some of the burning. So it's possible here that this was also getting gummed up and the pulley wasn't spinning. I cleaned all this out, and I think also part of the problem is that the idler pulley wheel bearing went bad. And so as a temporary fix, I'm just going to use some graphite lubricant and put the lubricant on the sleeve, and I'm going to put the bearing in here on the wheel, and now that spins much better. So this is going to be my temporary fix. I've ordered a new idler wheel assembly. Alright, so here's an update. I went ahead and ordered a replacement idler pulley wheel assembly on Amazon. Has an upgraded bearing, ball bearing design. I also went ahead and ordered a replacement belt. Here's the original idler pulley wheel assembly. I showed you just a moment ago in the video, but really a week has passed. And I had lubricated this with some graphite to help it spin. But as you can see here now, it's not spinning. So this is already worn out. I mean, it got us a week, which is about what I needed for the parts to arrive. But if you're replacing the motor, I would strongly encourage you to check out and possibly replace the idler wheel assembly as well. So we put the idler pulley wheel assembly back on here. Attach the spring, put the screw back in. So we set the motor back in exactly the way the other motor came out. I'll have the switch off to the right side here. Make sure that it sits right on the two shelves, I guess, or supports, one here and the other one right there. Now once it's in that position, we can reattach the clips and just bring it back over the top, just as the other one was, into that notch that I showed you earlier. Once you clip that, okay, and the same thing in the back. Here, we're going to hook it on this part, come over the top, push down here, get it in on the other side, and you've got that in place. Of course, we want to hook in the back wire clip as well as the front. Now we'll put the wheel, fan wheel, back in. You'll have a flat spot here. You'll line that with the flat spot here until that goes in all the way, and then put the nut back on. Again, noting that the nut spins, threads counterclockwise. Okay, that's it. Now we'll bring the drum back into place, pick it up by the belt, follow those grooves right into place. So we reconnected the belt And you can just see now how that spins. The belt comes around the pulley and then goes underneath and below and catches on to the grooves in the motor. And so now it's spinning pretty freely, which is good. And so alright, so now we'll put the front housing back on and set it in these channels right here. Alright, I paused here for a bit, so I want to make sure that when I put the front piece back on, I get the top brackets hooked in first to bring the walls in. But then at the bottom, I have to make sure that underneath here, those pulley wheels are resting in the channel on the inside of the drum, so that when this thing is in place now, before you screw it in, you can smoothly rotate the drum. And when those are done, come down. Don't forget to reconnect the clip for the moisture sensor right there. Now we can reattach the duct for the exhaust. So now, before we put this plate back on, the housing for the control board, we're going to bring the wiring back across and we're going to reattach it through these little plastic clips. And just before we attach this in, we're going to remember to reconnect the light here. Lean this in into the feet and the bottom slots. Hold that as we push in forward, up into place, and then we'll reattach the screws. Start with the 2 screws inside the door. Those are the wider screws with the washers on the back, and then 4 across the top. Okay, so now we can bring the control panel back up to the top. Before we connect that, set that in, we're going to reconnect the wiring harnesses here. Bring this down, the bottom in place, and then pop the top in. Okay, once the top is in place, top dryer, put it back on here, slide forward, and then we'll reattach the 2 screws on the back, and we're done. Alright, so got it back in place, connected up the water line for the steam feature, connected up the exhaust pipe hose, and plugged her back in. Let's see what we have. Again, any setting. And it's holding. Thanks for watching.